No, let's do Facebook Live.
This is Facebook Live. Well, let me
Not yet, but it will
let me
be.
put on a shirt then.
No, you got the Phoenix. It's perfect. You know what I got?
Put on a shirt.
Look what I got. No,
put on
stay
a
like that. Look what I
tie.
got. I got my Rolling Stones.
Okay. Well, Phil Kaplan always was a Rolling Stone, wasn't he?
I think Kristen's coming in. I'm believing this is going to happen. Kristen?
Ah, there we go. Thank you. Like James Brown and the Fabulous Flames.
Are you going to take that off at some point?
When it gets hot.
It might get hot. It's always hot with Kristen
here.
Comella. And now, many of you, of course, know Buddy Love.
Buddy
You know
Love.
who Buddy Love is? He's not really Buddy Love. Do you remember the Eddie Murphy character, Buddy Love? Dr. Love is the greatest name in the world, right? Dr. Love. Dr. George Love, we've known each other, I think, through many lifetimes. But we meet again in this one. And I just want you guys to meet him because he is, let me start by saying, brilliant and humble. You accept that?
I totally accept that.
So let me ask you now. Give me 2 adjectives that you think people would use to describe you. Other than those, they're already used.
Oh,
that's a 432. I got that.
I have a wide range of friends. I've got my scientist friends. I've got my acupuncture colleagues. I've got my cultural buddies. I got my historical buddies. So I don't think there would be a 2 words that could sum it all up.
Kristen, you try. 2 adjectives that would describe Dr. Love.
Well, I don't know about the adjective thing, but what I was going to say is when you're in his presence, you know you're in the presence of greatness. You instantly feel it.
Wow.
So nobody wants to play the adjectives game. I invite everybody to comment with adjectives for Dr. Love as you get to know him. But we'll start with brilliant and humble, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are 2 good 2 starting points. An adjective. I'm extremely hot. If that's
Thus
an
the
adjective.
Phoenix on your shirt, right? You're wearing
right,
a Phoenix.
and we're talking heat. We're just like I generate heat.
I feel it.
And I value other people because I can't learn if I'm doing all the talking. So I have a particular insight in asking questions. So I'm more interested in what you know than what I know because I already know what I know. But you put me on the spot here. You really put me on the spot here because I thought this was just a private conversation. I didn't know it was going to go into. Yeah, the conversation is private, but there's 4,000 people listening in.
Eavesdropping, that's all. All right, so I got to. I love both of you guys, but you suck at the adjectives game. But that's okay. You don't never have to play the adjectives game.
It's not his specialty.
So we're in a
I
very
do want to
weird.
say the first time that I ever met him, you ever get that feeling that when you meet someone like you knew him before?
Yeah.
And so he walked in the door and we gave each other this instant hug. And it was one of these like, oh man, I haven't seen you in thousands of years.
Exactly.
Long time no see.
No, and I think that's common for you, right, Dr. Love? I think that's common.
I think the energetic resonance with certain people who vibrate higher, because there was like a bunch of people in the room. I didn't know who Kristen was right away, but it took like 30 seconds and I went, doo, 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 doo. That's the one.
I think your husband did the same thing at one time. He just looked at her and said, that's the one.
Yeah, pretty much.
So if you meet Dr. Love in a particular circumstance, he will stick acupuncture needles in your head. If you meet him somewhere else, he will have you moving slowly on the beach. Am I right?
That is right.
Are you
or
still
dancing.
Or dancing?
I've shifted it to dancing because more people are interested in dancing than moving slowly. So, yeah.
And I think the first time that I came to know of you, I had a radio show on Bob Morency's station. I can't think of the call letters of it.
WWNN
WNN,
1470
right.
So
on
I
your
don't know if this
AM
happened to
dial.
you, but the live video ended on Facebook.
Oh, well. It's okay. We're being recorded.
We'll post
can
it later.
You
Yeah.
can start it again.
It was a teaser.
Okay, it was a teaser.
So yeah, I heard you on the radio, and you got a great radio voice. So that's all I knew is here's the guy with the radio voice. So let's just talk about the world right now.
Okay.
There are so many directions we could go with this, but I just want to ask you to start, Dr. Love, with what's your take on this?
Okay, my take is Bill Gates and Dr. Fauci. I think they're the only ones who have any correct answers. I think everybody else is whistling in the dark.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to ask of you now.
Mm-hmm.
I want to stay away from the arguments and conspiracy theories in this group. Separately, I'll talk about anything you want, because
Gotcha.
the only answer that I have right now when people ask me any polarizing question is I don't know. You know,
Right.
We have theories, we have beliefs. Sometimes you speak to somebody who sounds so credible and you're almost certain, and then you talk to somebody else and you go, oh, well, that kind of makes sense. So let's put that aside till after the wave passes, and then we'll talk publicly about it. But what about just in terms of living through this for the people who are your friends and your clients and your patients? How does life change and how should it change?
Okay, number one, viruses, bacteria, fungus, and parasites have always been with us. The Chinese do not believe in the germ theory cause of disease. The Chinese say you're born with 3 parasites in your lungs. You're born with 2 pounds of viruses in your intestines. You're born with 3 pounds of bacteria. So bacteria, virus, and parasites are not the cause of disease. It is a deficiency in Wei Qi that we translate as your immune system. So when your immune system is down, it allows bacteria, virus, fungus, and parasites to grow exponentially. But they're already there. They don't cause the disease. It's our lack of defense mechanisms. So what's involved in that from a Chinese medicine perspective? Well, number one, the Chinese talk about is dampness, which we translate as mucus. So our bodies naturally produce mucus, which entrap and expel bacteria, virus, fungus, and parasites. However, we can overproduce mucus. And when we overproduce mucus, instead of expelling them, we create an environment for them to proliferate in. And then that goes into the lungs. The Chinese say that the lungs are the most fragile organ. That means if you're going to get sick, it's going to start in your lungs. Secondarily, that mucus comes from what you eat. So you have to pay attention to what you eat so you don't create mucus that then clogs the trachea and the bronchioles and then creates that environment for bacteria, virus, fungus, and parasites to proliferate. Now, if you had that information 25, 35, 40 years ago, like I did, you would live your life in a certain way so that your immune system would be super strong. And then if you caught a cold, it would last 24 hours and be done. It wouldn't
Dr. Love,
linger.
I have a statement that I've been making. I'm curious, and I think you'll agree with it. But, you know, Kristen and I have been talking about immunity from way before anybody knew COVID anything. It's what we do. And we talk primarily about 2 systems, the parasympathetic recovery system and the immune system.
Yes.
So what I've been saying to people is immunity is something you earn when there is no threat, so you're protected when there is.
Perfect.
And I'm hoping that this is a wake-up call for those people who are fearful or potentially will suffer from this. Now is not the time to say, suddenly I have to focus on my immune system. The time to do it is before the threat shows up. So when you say you've known this for 25 years, you have, and Kristen, although yours isn't from a Chinese medicine point, same thing, right? Same message.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I love to integrate Chinese medicine as well as other modalities, you know, everything from biohacking to something more traditional to, of course, stem cell therapy. I spent about a month in China working with a Chinese medicine practitioner, and truly amazing. I mean, you know, learning so many things about how to naturally build your immune system, and the stuff works, you know. And I'll never forget the practitioner that I worked with there didn't speak English, and I had a translator who was working with me, and she looked at me and she said something very serious. And I asked the translator, what did she say? And the translator had kind of this look of horror on her face. And she said, well, she says you're fat side and pear-shaped. I was like, wow, you should meet the rest of America. I'm one of the not fat side ones. And so then she also mentioned this concept of damp and drafty and the importance of protecting your neck, which I loved that. I loved that concept. You know, never ever cold liquid, and, you know, just so many neat things that I learned while I spent time in China. And I just love it. I mean, it makes you feel amazing, and then by boosting your immune system. So is there anything that you could recommend for people who are just kind of learning and trying to get into this concept of building their immune system? Where do they start?
Okay, so the first thing I say is saline solution up your nose that cleans out the sinuses. So the sinuses are supposed to drain. And if they don't drain, then they clog up, and then bacteria and virus, fungus, and parasites move in there. So if we clean out the sinuses on a daily basis, secondly, you need to gargle. So I just ate something. I just had guacamole, and I was rushing to eat it so I would be here on time. So I've got little particles of avocado stuck in the back of my throat. So you need to gargle. And when you gargle, then that allows the mucus to drain out of the head. So those are two preventive things that you can do to start to build your immune system. Now, we know about cellular immunity, we know about humoral immunity. Humoral immunity is the lymphatic system, and you have 5 types of white blood cells that live inside your lymphatic system. And each white blood cell has a different job. One is search and destroy, one wraps itself up and smothers it, one sticks a smart bomb inside of it and blows it up. So you have 5 types of white blood cells that do various things. Now, there's another part that Chinese medicine talks about that Western medicine has no clue, and that's called an awareness, a sensory awareness. And if you like scary movies, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When you go into the haunted house, your 6th sense says, don't go in the basement, John, the monsters.
Yeah.
So we all have a 6th sense. Most of us ignore it. But if you choose to pay attention to your 6th sense, that's part of your immune system.
I've learned that lesson the hard way.
The hard
Honestly.
way. I remember.
Yeah.
So I'm doing Qigong for 17 years at the beach. Nice and slow. If anybody knows Tai Chi, you know what I'm talking about. And I could get 6 students, 8 students at the most. Could not increase that number past 8. And then 2 of my students, they were both from Montreal. They didn't know each other. They both went to the same nightclub. And they said, you should start the class off with a dance. So after a couple of months, I turned one of the exercises into a dance. And they loved it. And they said, well, you should end the class with a dance. So then a month later, I came up with another dance. And they you should turn the whole class into a dance. And now we've got 16 Chi dances. And the numbers keep growing and growing and growing. So the dance was definitely the right way to go.
Dancing with Dr. Love.
Dancing with Dr. Love. Bingo.
Awesome.
So
So
Kristen,
for those of you who are just getting introduced to this, we had Dr. Love at the Academy of Regenerative Practices, and he did some of these dance moves for a room full of physicians and scientists. he had the whole room in the palm of his hands. It was amazing. Everyone was smiling ear to ear. I mean, I can't imagine people feeling better than they felt after they did the movements with you.
Every scientific conference I speak at, they all leave there. The one thing they remember is, I did dancing
Right.
at the
Yes.
So, Kristen,
Right.
I got a question for you.
Sure.
When I met you and you took me on a tour of your facility, you had this room with all this fitness equipment in it. What is the fitness connection to the immune system?
Oh gosh, we talk about it all the time, Phil and I. And listen,
Okay.
if we can get our blood circulating, get the blood moving, blood is healing. So the more you're circulating your cells, the better off you are. I think that when we live kind of stagnant lifestyles and we're just sitting around, this is a recipe for disaster. Getting the blood circulating and allowing your body to recover appropriately is key. It's key to feeling amazing. So one of the things that we focus on is that recovery aspect.
Okay, I got a follow-up question. What about the brain? What is it about physical exercise that turns on the immune response in the brain? And there's a reason I'm asking this.
Phil, this is like your specialty. Go.
Well, he's
okay,
leading
Phil, you can
somewhere,
answer.
So I want to let you go. I want you to give us the answer.
I mean, it's the same concept.
I mean, I talk a great deal about neuroplasticity. I talk a great deal about mindset.
Okay.
And, one of the greatest lessons for me was a thought is physical. I'm going to tell you why that was important for me. Because everything that I did to a certain point in my life was physical. Exercise is physical. You want to fix a muscular imbalance, you physically train the muscle and you recreate balance. Mindset seemed abstract and sort of out there and difficult to encapsulate until I realized that a thought is physical, that dendrites actually connect. So neural wiring is changeable. And if we can use thoughts to change the physicality of our neural system, then we can completely change our brain. So
that's biohacking.
We integrate physical exercise, biohacking, of course, nutrition, rest and recovery with mindset, with prayer. And when I say that, I don't mean in a religious way. And also creating what I call the future memory, getting your mind to believe that the wish has already happened. And the way I understand it, putting those pieces together creates a brain that integrates fully, not only with your body and spirit and soul, but with the outcome you desire.
I 100% believe that, and I express that in the way I treat people. The point that I wanted to bring out is that in 2016, they discovered T lymphocytes in the meninges of the brain. And before 2016, there was no map of these T lymphocytes in the brain. They were only in the gut and the skin. So now they have to rewrite the medical textbooks. The way you feel about yourself can trigger the immune response. So right now,
Can you say that again? The way you feel about
yourself can trigger the immune response.
Okay.
So fear is running the country right now.
Sure.
Everybody is petrified. Don't go to the beach. That's the safest place to be, is at the beach. The salt air, fresh air. Nobody goes to the beach to hug each other. People want to spread out as far as possible. The beach is the safest place to be. Don't go to the park. Oh my God. The park is the safest place. Fresh air and PEMF, pulsed electromagnetic field, absorbing through your feet, builds your immune system. The parks and the beaches should be open. We don't hug anyway. Americans are anti-touch to start with. So I don't know where they get this stuff. But
I love that you're pulling in the PEMF. On Wednesday's episode, I did a whole thing on PEMF.
wow. Okay.
It all ties together.
We're all together because when I met Kristen and I discovered what biohacking was, 9 of the 10 aspects of biohacking is what I already do.
So that's exactly it.
I'm part of the biohackers.
What was
Put me on the team.
Yeah.
So,
you know, one thing
2016
simple, just kind of thinking of the mind and, you know, exercise and how does it all relate. But one thing simple that I do that I always remind people to do is, you know, when I'm feeling stressed or uncertain or just not myself, just bend over, get your head below your heart, allow the cerebral spinal fluid to circulate. The physical side of that is, you know, crossing the blood-brain barrier, getting the cells to the brain, an instant drop of cortisol levels just by sticking your head upside down. Touch your toes. It's so simple. It's so simple. And, you know, even before I go, for example, on stage, you might get some nerves, you know, you might, a little cortisol, a little adrenaline, just a simple forward fold and mind clarity instantly.
Well, I've got one better for you than the body fold.
I'm going to do it right now.
You grab your ears. Well, I got to stand up for this one.
Okay, do it. I'm going to do it.
You're wired.
Here,
Be careful.
let's go.
I'm wired.
I can do it.
Okay. So
Ready.
Everybody can do this. So you
Okay. I hope you're following
opposite
along at
hand
home. Do this.
over the
Okay.
ear. Opposite hand over the ear.
I only can do one at the moment. I'll do the other one later.
Okay. So when you breathe in, the air fills the lungs. What happens to the blood? The blood goes out. So when you breathe in and bend over, and I just mean bend your knees. I don't mean bend over. I mean bend down. You shoot blood into your brain. And then you stand up and you inhale.
Ooh, I love it.
And you exhale. You
I gotta add
inhale
this
as you
into
go
the
down.
routine. These are like pull your ear squats.
Yes, these are pull your ear squats. Exactly.
I gotta add that in.
It's the function. It's the 7th move on the functional 7.
Yes.
Okay.
It's the missing element. Pull your ear
Well,
squats.
I like it. It's good.
Pull
It's
your
good.
ear squats. Exactly. Exactly. And you don't want your knee to extend past your big toe.
Never. I would
Is
never
there a
do
risk that your earlobes will get too long?
No, you're too young to have long earlobes.
that.
And we only have to do this 14 times.
Okay.
That's it. And
I haven't
we
been
use
counting.
What's the magic about 14?
Aha. That is the secret you must pay for.
12, 13, 14.
14. Oh boy, we're counting on the same page.
I feel good.
Wow, that feels amazing. I hope everyone did that at home.
It actually does. I'm not joking. It really does.
I know. It's so simple and it works.
It's so simple.
Functional 7 routine.
Give us one more.
You're
know
so
which one I love?
greedy.
I love
You're
this
so
one.
greedy. You're not
Yeah, what else can we
satisfied.
pull? What else can we pull?
Tell us this one, Dr. Love.
Okay, so you put your thumbs on your temple.
Okay.
And pull apart your forehead. Okay, now there's a cavity underneath your temple. And if you press on it, it gives a little bit. And when you pull apart your forehead, you flood your pituitary. So the pituitary sits in a little cup behind your frontal bone, which we call the forehead. And if you lean your head slightly back and then pull apart the forehead just 8 times, you flood the pituitary.
Will this make me smarter?
Yes, it will. It will absolutely make you smarter because it makes the neural patterns of your thought processes lightning fast, Phil.
What happens if you go like 9 and 10? Did you screw it up? Did you mess up the whole thing?
No, it's just sufficient. I mean, like how many times do you want to sweep the floor? Once it's clean, it's clean.
All right, Kristen got to stop asking. Now we're up to the functional 8. Like we got to go a little bit at a time. We got 2 new exercises we just added to the functional 6.
This one is one of my favorite. I do it all the time since Dr.
Since
Love
I
taught
showed it to you.
It works.
Okay, now
It works.
I've got another one for the pineal. Now you're not going to believe this one.
Light it up.
If you open your jaw, there's a little hollow between your jaw and your earlobe.
Got it.
Yeah,
There is a blood vessel and a nerve that feeds the pineal when your jaw's open. So the very act of chewing stimulates your pineal.
Okay.
Now, the silly thing is, the average person chews 7 times before they swallow. How many teeth were you born with? 32. How many times should you chew? 32. Well, yesterday, my students challenged me. We were eating salad, and we all had big forks, and we were forking the salad because the salad, Dr. Love makes emperor salad, which I'll give you the ingredients later on. But it was so good that they were like, and I said, I'm going to chew 32 times. It took me 52 times before my salad turned into liquid.
Oh.
So I was half done. They were completely done, cleaned the table and washed the dishes, and I'm still chewing my salad.
Dr. Love, I want to tell you
But
something that you just brought to mind. I have a friend who you know very well. I don't want to mention who she is. But we went to dinner. This was a few years ago, and we went to a sushi restaurant. And I knew the sushi chef, and he prepared this beautiful plate. And you know how they like garnish it with carrots, and they make them look like flowers. And you know, I'm ready to dig into the sushi, and she takes one of those like carrot flowers, and eats it, and is chewing like orgasmically. And I'm watching. I'm going, it's a carrot. Like, I wish I could enjoy anything as much as she enjoyed that carrot. And she chewed and chewed and chewed. I mean, I was going through whole sushi rolls, and I would say she enjoyed it a whole lot more than I did. I enjoyed watching her. That's
an American affectation, is to inhale the food.
Yeah.
So what I'm suggesting is we slow down and we chew our food. And what I'm further suggesting is that by chewing your food consciously, you're actually stimulating your pineal gland. That's what I'm suggesting.
You mentioned liquefying the food. Is that the goal?
That is the goal. It's got to turn into chyme, C-H-Y-M-E. Chyme is the liquid that supposedly goes into the stomach from your chewing amylase. The protease is in the stomach, and the lipase is in the small intestines. So we have 3 different digestive enzymes, 3 different secretion points. So if most of what we eat is carbohydrate, which is salad and crackers and breads and what have you, then we really need to chew that into a liquid before it goes into the stomach. And if you're eating meat, which I am, 3 ounces 3 times a week, 3 ounces 3 times a week, you can have all the meat you want, 3 ounces 3 times a week. Then you still got to chew the meat so that the protease can break it down. And what the Chinese do is they shred their meat and mix it with vegetables so that it can be more easily digested.
So you eat meat 3 ounces 3 times a week?
I do not eat any meat whatsoever.
You don't eat any meat, but you're saying
but
for
I'm
somebody
not
who chooses to eat meat.
Condemn anyone if they choose to eat elk or bison or wild caught
game.
Right.
Right, as opposed to a CAFO raised cow that ate pellets, right?
Don't make me laugh. Don't make
Yeah. So here's what I'd like to do. So much of what we talk about is completely aligned. I would love to find an entry for you to be a part of this group, however that fits. Join us once a week, sit on a panel, do a little dance, fork your salad, whatever you want to do, you know, pull your ears, something. Because I just think it would be great to have you, you know, a part of this. So let's figure it out, you know, off the air, and we'll make you a regular staple here, because people should know you, and that's why I brought you here.
Thank you so much, Phil. I'm stunned. I'm humbled by the opportunity that.
There you go. Brilliant and humble. Dr. Love and I are both huge Kristen Comella fans, and Kristen and I are both huge Dr. Love fans. So beautiful.
Oh, and Dr. Love and I are both huge Phil
Kaplan fans.
Oh, there you go. It is the Mutual Admiration Society. Dr. Love, thank you. I will talk to you. I'll try you over the weekend. Okay.
Okay.
And I want to mention one more thing, by the way. You like this? We have a routine that everyone in the 55-day program is following together. And we have different levels and different coaches, so anyone can do this at any age. But next week, we start with a morning 9-minute routine. And the first thing we do is diaphragmatic breathing. The second thing we do is, I call it lymphatic windmills or lymphatic twists. And it is twisting and literally punching yourself in the lower back. So I thought you would appreciate that, because you were talking about the lymphatic system. So breath and moving lymph. And we're trying to get people out of the mentality of, you know, buys and pecks and tries. And you're going to work that stuff too. But let's take care of the systems of the body. Yeah, I noticed you didn't want to show up because you're humble. You put on the jacket before
I put
you
on the
flex.
jacket so you couldn't see my big guns.
Exactly right.
Welcome to the gun show.
We love Dr. Love. Kristen, you're the greatest. And as Kristen always says, we have a lot of work to do, right?
Yeah, we do.
Why are you stealing her tagline?
I'm not stealing. I'm relaying it. I'm passing it along. I'm giving her credit.
I think I'm wearing my tagline.
Okay. My cell's my choice. Okay. My tagline is prevention is the only cure.
Mine is Rolling Stones.
Okay. Okay, Big Papa.
All right. See you guys.
All right.
Bye, guys.